Welcome back to another show. This is your host, Hashim Amin Garrett. Welcome back to HMG. As always, let me say a special shout out to my engineer. Please, 1-2-1-2. Cut the sound off of me, engineer. 1-2. All right. Listen, how is everyone doing? I hope you are feeling phenomenal, feeling blessed. I got to jump into this show. Recently in the news, I'm always about current events. I saw another rapper, PNB, was killed during a robbery in California while eating lunch with his girlfriend, significant other. And in the process of a robbery, he was killed. PNB Rock. And I had to put this show together because this really touched home for me in many ways. If you followed my show, you know I'm from New York City, born and raised, Brooklyn. And years ago, I had a little cousin who was murdered in broad daylight because someone wanted to steal his jewelry. So every time I hear of a rapper being gunned down or, shot and injured in the process of a robbery, it really strikes a chord with me. So the reason why I wanted to put this show together is for a few reasons. One, I wanted to just have a conversation about what can we do to prevent something like this from happening. And I've been on both sides of the fence, right? I wasn't always a motivational speaker, an encourager. I had my moments in my adolescence where I was the guy and I was a part of that group of, young people who were robbing, right? And stealing and committing armed robberies. And the reality is this: when I was growing up in the 80s, this is the beginning of hip hop. It was commonplace to see rappers wearing, big medallions and chains and rings, and it was commonplace. And, the rappers were trying to be like the drug dealers, because the drug dealers around our way were the guys who wore the flashy gold chains and all of that kind of stuff. But the big difference is that when I grew up, the rappers, they were emulating these drug dealers, but the drug dealers weren't. They had the jewelry on, but they also had the firearms with them. So they understood, okay, they are selling drugs, they're making money illegally, got the fancy cars, got girls all around them. They know Stick Up Kids is coming. They know Stick Up Kids is coming just to rob them for their drugs and their drug money. Forget just the jewelry. The jewelry is the byproduct. But the drug dealers, all those getting money dudes, they already was strapped up because they knew, look out for the Stick Up Kids who are trying to rob the spot and trying to rob, the trap house. So they always kept those things on them. Whereas the rappers, they're entertainers. They're not drug dealers. They're entertainers, and they out there entertaining, and they got they got the cars like the drug dealers. They got the jewelry like the drug dealers. They got the girls like the drug dealers, but they don't have the guns like the drug dealers. And, so over time, sure, rappers started having security. They had entourage, and the entourage is the ones that had the guns. But growing up, it was the guys out there on the street. They had the guns and their team had guns. And so why I'm saying this is because on a few levels. Number one is this. I want to just get straight to it. Stop wearing all the jewelry, man. Yeah, we could talk about inflation. We could talk about mental health. There's a lot of things in different avenues I could go with this. But if I just wanted to say, hey, listen, what is my piece of advice for anybody out here? Stop wearing flashy jewelry because it attracts attention. Yeah, you want to wear the jewelry because you want the attention from, people, right? But all attention isn't good attention, because there are people out here who ribs are touching and they hungry and they like, oh, okay, you're an easy come up. Oh, you got $30,000, rings on. And they don't care. I'm telling you, like on both sides of the fence, where you can be a woman and you can have an engagement ring on and you got this big old diamond ring. that's going to attract some attention. You got to be careful. And so now in that whole hip hop community, so okay, a woman has an engagement ring on. You can easily disguise that. That's not as ostentatious and as gaudy, right? But you figure a rapper, I mean, my gosh, you could see it, you drive by, you drive past the car, you see it, and so it just attracts a lot of negative attention. And so, I remember just growing up, there was a famous rapper, and his name was Slick Rick. All right. And I'm sure some of you already know who he is, but for those who don't, Google him. And this guy in the 80s, he was wearing, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. And I remember being a little kid, a teenager, and my peers going, if we ever catch him, he's done. We getting him. Not to kill him, but he got run all of that. You coming up off all that jewelry. Now, mind you, there was no social media back then, so obviously nobody was going to rob him and then, say, hey, I'm going to broadcast it, right? Because there's no way. Nowadays, people rob and sometimes they want to put it on the internet. But the number one thing that I would say is, listen, all attention isn't good attention. And if you have that type of jewelry on, I don't care if it's one chain. Listen, it don't have to be super gaudy with a Rolex watch and all. One chain is enough. My little cousin was killed on the subway over one little chain with a little pendant. It was enough to attract the attention of two kids the day before Thanksgiving, better known as Black Friday, and they got on the train and they followed him from Rockaway, Queens to Brooklyn on the A train about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We talking broad daylight, and they followed him and they robbed him. And in the process of the robbery, they killed my 21-year-old cousin, Shamel Garrett. And it was over a small chain, a necklace with a little pendant. And so nowadays you have rappers and entertainers, and they not having my cousin's chain was worth maybe just a few $100s. But now, you got people wearing $100,000 worth of jewelry on, the Rolex, this ring and that ring and the bracelets and the chains. Somebody is saying, wait a second, they can pull out a gun and say, hey, give it up. And, you don't want to give it up. All right. They shooting and killing and taking it. So if you want to wear the jewelry, then give it up. If you don't want to give it up, then don't wear it outside. I know some people, I've heard some entertainers say they wear costume jewelry, because when they're on the road, they know, they got people in certain neighborhoods. They know them gangsters is out there. The goons, they coming, right? You walking around with all this flashy stuff. And again, people's ribs is touching, man. Like they don't have, when I say ribs is touching, they hungry. And people been hungry. They ain't got nothing about just inflation now, poverty. And stealing has been around since the beginning, right? And so don't wear it. All attention isn't good attention. If you're going to wear it and somebody press you and say, yo, you know what it is, you know what time it is, whatever, give it up. Don't try to be tough. Don't act like it can't happen, because it will. And chances are they may, even after they take it, they may not let you live. So my advice is do not wear it. The second thing that I have to say is, now I'm just talking about the person who is the prey here, the victim, right? Because if you want to try to unpack, well, why and how do you get into the minds of the people and stop them, that's a whole nother long conversation. So I'm just talking about it from the person advantage point who might be a potential victim. It might be food out here. Somebody want to eat you up, right? So the second thing is, stop posting every time you at someplace, right? I mean, how many times will we hear this? Somebody got their location on, and I don't know, we live in an era like, oh, I need you to know every move I'm at. I'm here. Here goes. I'm taking a picture right now, posting it. People following you, like literally following you. Going, oh, okay, pull up. We coming right over there right now because they said such and such is over there and they not too far and they coming. And this is broad daylight, you know. Pick your little local eatery, and you would think, you know, oh, they won't kill in front of everybody, not in broad daylight. Listen, this kid PNB Rock killed broad daylight. As I mentioned, my little cousin killed years ago, broad daylight, no mask. And so again, just don't put your location. You wanna post a picture, cool. Turn the local off. Turn that off. Don't let everybody know where you're located. All attention is not good attention. So that's my piece of advice, real quick. Right, this stuff has been happening. This was happening in the 80s and the 90s, and this was happening. It's gonna keep happening. So nothing flashy out here, and hopefully that can prevent a lot of future entertainers, a lot of future just regular Joe Blow, you know, girls and boys, young men and women out here from it happening. As I mentioned, it can be an engagement ring. It can be a chain. I remember when I was a kid, it was very commonplace to see girls with big bamboo earrings. You know, them big door knockers is what we used to call it, right? It was nothing to see a girl, her earlobes be ripped because somebody saw on a train and they just snatched the earrings straight out her ears. And now this girl got this big scar down her earlobe because they just took them off. They didn't even say, yo, can I get just whap, give me those. So again, just be very mindful. And people be sizing you up. You don't know. You could be at the local grocery store. You could be somewhere and somebody see you and they like, I'm getting them right now. And you ain't posted. You ain't nope. But you. So all attention is not good attention. You wear the jewelry because you want people to see. Just understand, when you want people to see, they're gonna see what you got. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm from an era when, you know, people carried those guns when they had that jewelry on them, and they were already committing criminal acts. So they were they weren't really concerned about the jail. They were concerned about the money and the drugs and da da da. They weren't thinking about that. So I am not trying to say anyone, oh, well, you should carry a gun while walking outside with your chains. I am telling you, stop wearing the chains, because there's no glory in going to jail because you killed somebody while trying to defend yourself from getting robbed from the ostentatious jewelry that you had on. So again, less is more. Pride comes before the fall, you know? So stay humble. All attention ain't good attention. So just a shout out to all of the, just want to recognize all of the mothers and the sons and daughters and the parents and the relatives of people who have lost somebody, you know, whether it was through a robbery or whatever the situation was. You know, what do we take away so that hopefully it could be prevented from happening to someone else? As always, I do appreciate the people who come and listen. I hope what I share with you is of value. Thank you. Stay well. Peace.